everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be chill, laid back. I have some laundry to fold and I want to talk to you guys about my best and worst books of 2022. I know I'm a little late because we're already like 10 days into the new year, but I have the list, so I feel like I need to share it, right? Hello again. I apologize for the change in lighting. I went to transfer all of those clips I just filmed to my computer and accidentally deleted the very first like 6 or 7 books without transferring it. So let's go through them again. I apologize for the bad lighting. It's nighttime now. So all of these books are going to be books that I gave 5 stars. So if they made this list, it's because I loved them. 5 stars. Let's begin. American Dirt. This one I loved. I thought it was so beautiful and sad and poignant. But this book is pretty controversial because it's about a Mexican woman who is taking her son and escaping from Mexico to the US border. The author herself is not an immigrant and she's not Hispanic or anything. The story of a mom trying to get her son safely to the US. And it's just really freaking sad, and every character they meet is like, you don't know if they're a threat or if they're safe, and you're just so scared for her and her son. And it was just so, I don't know, is there another word other than sad? Anyway, next, One True Loves, Taylor Jenkins Reid. I am one of the very few people on earth who did not think that Malibu Rising was like the best book that they ever read. But One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid, excellent book. It's about a woman who married her high school sweetheart. They have kind of a fun life. He ends up dying in a plane crash or like a helicopter crash. She, is recovering from that. She ends up meeting this other guy who they get engaged, and she's falling in love and has this new life. And then one day she finds out her husband didn't actually die. He's kind of been in like a castaway situation without the volleyball. He's been like on this island by himself for years. And so now she has to decide, do I go back to my old life that I was so happy with? Or do I continue with this new life that I'm also very happy with? And you don't know who you're rooting for, like which guy you want her to end up with, if either of them. Next, Normal People, another kind of controversial book. Sally Rooney, I don't know, like why do people not like her? Is it just the quotation mark thing that she doesn't use quotation marks? Because, come on. I mean, her books I think are just so realistic. She writes characters that are incredibly unlikable, still makes you root for them and keep going because they are unlikable in that they are so real. Like, I could totally see knowing these people in my life. I wish I knew Connell in my life. Normal People is about Marianne and Connell. They meet when they're in high school. They're from totally different worlds. They get together, but it doesn't work out. And it just kind of follows them on that pattern, like together, not communicating well as they get older. They just cannot get their shit together to make it work between them. And both characters are just so beautifully written. The dialogue is like, will stay with you for a lifetime. And to add on top of that, they made it into a Hulu show, and both actors are just so amazing together. Beautiful. ACOTAR, A Court of Mist and Fury. I was nervous to read this because I was like, I don't like fantasy. And it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Feyre is a human. She takes care of her family. They're very poor. She kills a wolf. She finds out that that wolf was actually a fae. So she's taken by the like prince of this fairy kingdom as his like prisoner. They fall in love and that's all wonderful, but it's dark. At the end there is like this massive bad person and she's doing the craziest stuff and it's like so gory. I long for the day they make this into a movie. And ACOTAR itself, like I don't think I gave the first book 5 stars, but the series as a whole, books 2 and 3 are just, you cannot miss them. I haven't read 4 and 5 yet and I'm a little nervous. 4 is on my TBR for this month and I'm just scared because I've heard bad things. And the last one before we're gonna go back to my original recording is Playing Nice. First chapter. This man opens the door. There's another guy standing there. He's like, hey, this is really awkward, but My son is your son and your son is my son. Their babies were switched at birth. For the last 3 years, they have been raising each other's children. Basically, the book from there is like, what do we do? Like, yes, he's not mine biologically, but I have been raising him as if he is my own for the last 3 years. So I don't want to give that up, but also like, I want to meet this other boy that is my son. In the beginning, they're like well, I don't want to spoil it. They're very firm in their decision, and then they start to be unsure which way they want to go. You think that's what it's going to be about, but then there is like this whole other element of like psychological warfare. One of the characters is just off his rocker, and it's dark and twisty, and you seriously are like, what is going to happen? But also, I had just become a mother at that point, and I was like, what would I do? I remember I went out to my husband and I was like, Bob, serious question. If somebody came to our door and was like, hey, Simon is actually my kid, what would you do? Like, you're not going to give them up. That is your baby, whether or not you share DNA. It seriously messed with my head. I remember texting my friends, like, you guys have to read this. What would you do? I need to know. Every person in my life, what would you do? Like, I still think about that book all the time. Like, maybe I should read it again this year. Anyway, guys, back to the other clips for the rest of the books. Daisy Jones and the Six. Again, I said I wasn't big on Taylor Jenkins Reid, so I did not want to read this book. I was putting it off as long as possible, same as you, Sarah Caroli, and then obsessed. I didn't read it. I listened to the audiobook. So happy I did that, but I think I would read it again. It's just that the actors they chose to voice the characters in the book did such a fantastic job. Jennifer Beals as Daisy, Pablo Schreiber as, I almost said Garrett. It's not Garrett. It's not Eddie. What is the main guy's name? It's escaping me. But fantastic. So if you don't know, set in an interview style, and their narrator is interviewing the band members from Daisy Jones and the Six. They were a band in the 70s, interviewing them just about, you know, their careers and their lives and how they ended up where they are. And you're hearing different events from different characters' perspectives, and it's funny and it's sad and it's raunchy and it's just like sex, drugs, rock and roll. That's all you need to know. They're making it into a show, and I cannot freaking wait. It was such a good book. 4 Winds by Kristen Hanna. When I say it, I'm like, was this a 5 stars? But again, all these freaking motherhood books are getting to me. So basically how I would describe this book is like a modern Grapes of Wrath. So it's taking place during the Dust Bowl. This woman, you know, grew up her whole life, her family telling her that she was like ugly and she would never have anyone love her. Not in like, I mean, I was going to say not in an abusive way, but obviously that sounds very abusive. But like, basically she has no self-confidence, and she ends up like marrying this sexy little number for reasons. They have kids. Then they hit the Dust Bowl and everything goes downhill. Their whole lives that they've been building just are basically ruined. They end up doing the whole move to California to like pick cotton? Grapes? Both? They pick things. And it's just like really freaking sad. And I'm sure you have all seen that picture. I'll pop it on here. The woman sitting in the tent holding her babies during the Dust Bowl when they all migrated to California. That is like, I'm pretty sure she wrote that book based on that photo. I'm just saying that. I don't know if that's true, but I could not stop thinking about that picture I saw in high school when I was reading this book. It's so sad. And again, the freaking like motherhood stuff, like her kids, her daughter resents her so much for like what happens with the father and for moving them out to California, not moving them fast enough. Like she's so mad at her mom, and her mom is like just doing anything it takes to give her kids a better life. Then we have Birthday Girl. I'm kind of ashamed to like put that on this list after just talking about 4 Winds. And it was so steamy. This is not like super well written. The characters are not likable. It's definitely, you have to be into this kind of thing. Basically, the main character has a thing for her boyfriend slash ex-boyfriend's dad. I will say, like, just to preface it, when she first meets him, she doesn't know it's her boyfriend's dad. So little leeway there. There's an age difference. I'm not sure how much it is. I think maybe like 18 years or maybe a little less. He might be like 36 and she's 19, something like that. But it's so steamy, and I don't know what it says about me psychologically that I liked that book, but it was really good. Like, when I was like, ah! The whole time reading it, and I wanted to just read it again and again and again. So one of my top romances of the year. Hunting Wives, this was a thriller. It is about a woman who is like kind of obsessed with this other like beautiful, rich, successful woman in her town, and she ends up becoming friends with them. And every like Friday, this group of women from her town go out to a cabin and they do like shooting. What's it called? Skeet shooting? Is that a thing? Where you like throw the thing and then you shoot it? They do that. And it's kind of scandalous. Like, they all have, you know, secrets going on. One of them is sleeping with another one's son. And then someone ends up dying. Actually, multiple people end up dying. And so you're trying to figure out, like, who did it. And honestly, till the very end, it kept me guessing. I really thought I knew who did it. And maybe that was so obvious and I was silly to think I knew, but I did not guess who was the bad person at all. And it was just very frustrating because the main character made so many stupid decisions that almost made me knock it down. But it, like, if a book can hold my attention that much and I need to know what's going to happen, that gets 5 stars for me. Next, All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. This one was so real, so sad. It deals with infertility, so if you're sensitive to that issue, I would recommend, you know, thinking about it before you read it. But you're following this woman and her husband from the day that they meet, which is really entertaining, but you're also seeing them deal with fertility issues down the road. You're seeing modern day, but you're also seeing like how they got there in this beautiful relationship. And it's kind of like book romance, unattainable, but then you're also seeing this downfall. So you're getting that fairy tale unrealistic book romance, but you're also getting this super real painful issue, and that kind of evens it out for me and made it more of a realistic read that I enjoyed. Maybe You Should Talk to Someone was a memoir, I guess, nonfiction. It's from Lori Gottlieb. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. She is a therapist in LA. She is talking about her experience as a therapist, some of her clients, how she helped them, the advice she gave them. I was crying. This book was so good. And then also her boyfriend breaks up with her, and she's a therapist, and you would think she'd be able to handle it, but she ends up needing to go to therapy herself to deal with it. And so she's sharing her experience as being like such an unlikable, difficult patient. That was really entertaining. I enjoyed that. Wish You Were Here. I was so excited to read this because Jodi Picoult was my girl in high school, and I didn't even, I guess when I started reading so feverishly again, I forgot all about her, but this was her big book this year and I loved it. And I can understand why some people might not want to read it because it is largely about COVID, and like we're still so kind of in COVID that it's like, oh, do I really want to read about it as I'm living it? But I think you should. So it's about a woman who is supposed to go to the Galapagos Islands with her boyfriend. But he can't go because he's a frontline worker. So he tells her to go by herself. So she ends up getting stranded on the Galapagos Islands, and she goes and she's stuck there. So you're like following her and you're seeing her as like this dumb tourist, but then she becomes, you know, kind of like part of the island because she's stranded there with all the locals. There is a twist in the middle of the book that I did not see coming, and you're only halfway through the book at that point. And then you're like, what the hell? And It ended really positively. I loved it so much. It just gave me all the like travel vibes. It really reminded me of when I lived in Thailand. A Deal with the Devil, another trashy romance where it's like not even well written, but it just like you can't put it down. The woman works for her best friend's, moody, grumpy plastic surgeon, rich, wealthy, sexy boss for a couple weeks. You know what happens. You know what happens. They get it on a lot, but it's more than that. There's some depth to it. There's some drama, and the sequel to it was equally fantastic. I believe there's a third one I haven't read yet, so that's a 2023 goal if I ever heard one. Open Water. It is a story about two black teenagers, or maybe they're like young 20s. They meet at a party, star-crossed lovers. Not really. They just see each other across the room, instant connection, but for whatever reason, it just isn't working out. And it also talks a lot about mental struggles that the guy in the book is going with as a young black man, and how basically threatened he feels just existing, and how that is impacting his ability to get into relationships and have serious connections with people, because he genuinely doesn't know if he's gonna like come back home when he leaves his house in the morning. Really beautifully written. Seriously, the most beautifully written book that I've read all year. November 9th by Colleen Hoover. I have a reading vlog of me reading this, so I'm not going to go into it. You can go watch that. That was a roller coaster, up and down. I was so angry at some of the characters, crying. I was so invested. Maybe it's because I read it all in one day, and I haven't done that since I was like in high school. Really, 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 really good. Adnan's Story by Rabia Chaudhry is a book about Adnan Syed and the murder of Heyman Lee, and it's a really deep dive into the case from the perspective of someone who actually knows Adnan and like thinks he's innocent. And I think that this would be so fantastic to read right now. It's like really topical because he just got out of prison and is now working for like some really prestigious university, teaching people about unfair or unjust convictions. I don't know. Whatever. Congrats, Adnan. I hope they find Heyman Lee's killer very, very soon. Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating. I just talked about this in my December wrap-up. Such a cute little book. It really towed the line of the main character, Hazel, being annoying because she was so quirky, but it was just really cute. It gave me all the good feelings. And the last book on my list, Wrong Place, Wrong Time. Again, talked about it in the December wrap-up. Such a good thriller. Again, got that whole like, I'm a mother, need to protect my son. Am I being a good enough mother? Am I doing what I need to do? Am I going to mess him up? That theme. I love that. It really hits me hard. Excellent thriller. It's all the rage right now. It's probably on your TBR if you haven't already read it. So all of those are the best books. Now, as quickly as I did the best, let's do the worst. This is the book that I wrote down, all my books that I read for the year. Number one on my least favorite or worst book of the year was one that my friends picked for book club, and sorry, they were into it, and I was like, I hated this book. I don't even want to talk about it. I was just rolling my eyes the entire book club meeting. 30 Things I Love About Myself. I hated it, and I think the reason I hated it is because I don't know if I've ever said this on my channel, but I was a writing major in college, and I thought I wanted to be a writer. Now I know I just wanted to be a reader. Like I love to talk and I love to write, but I don't think I'm a good writer, and maybe that's a little self-deprecating. I mean, I did okay in college, but like I don't think I'm that good of a writer. And this book reminded me of how I write. Like if I was to write a book, it would sound exactly like this, and I don't think it's very good. The main character is super unlikable, super woe is me. She pushes away everyone in her family. She has no redeeming qualities at all. The way she talks is so self-deprecating. She thinks she's the worst, blah, 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 blah. So she's trying to make a list of things that she loves about herself through experience. However, she would be like talking to someone. It doesn't happen. This is just an example. She'd be like, oh my God, I watched this movie yesterday and it was so funny. And then somebody would say, oh, who's the main actor in that movie? And then she'd be like, Henry Golding. And then like out of nowhere, she'd be like, did you know that Henry Golding is Asian and that Asian hate crimes are up this many % this year, and that the Asian people have been going through this persecution for this many years and the government did this to them? And it's like, what? Like, true, that's happening, but how did we get there? And it'd be like this long paragraph about like some human rights issue, and it happened so many times throughout the book, and I was like, what is happening? It was just so unnatural. It was like the author all of a sudden jumped in and was like, wait, let me say my opinion on this issue, this hot button issue really quick. It made no sense. It was so stupid. I gave it 1 out of 5 stars. If I could give it less than 1, I probably would have. I just have nothing nice to say. And if you know what they say? If you have nothing nice to say, put it in a YouTube video and label it worst books of the year and people will watch it. The next one on here is kind of topical, actually, since I just talked about Henry Golding. Crazy Rich Asians. Oh my God, I'm so sad to say this. This book is on my TBR, and honestly, I haven't taken the series off yet because it pains me to DNF the series. I loved this movie. I found the book so boring, so hard to follow. Millions of characters, which there are millions of characters in the movie too, but when you're seeing a face, I find it easier to follow. There was not enough emotion in it at all. You could not connect to any of the characters, even with their actor counterparts' faces in my mind. I couldn't connect to any of the characters. I just found it like so pointless, and I didn't want to read the next books in the series, but it makes me sad because I love the movie so much, and I know it's so beloved, but like, why is it so beloved? Honestly, I thought about putting We Were Liars on here just because it made me so sad and so angry what the twist was, but let's be honest, it was not a bad book. It was a good book, and the fact that it stuck with me and makes me so angry, it deserves to stay on here. I'm thinking of ending things. How did this get on my list? I don't know. I was reading it and I was like, is this a joke? What's going on? If you go on Goodreads, the very first review said, can someone explain the ending to me? I'm confused. This person's saying they thought it was going to be a 1 or 2 star read until the end, and that bumped it up to 5 stars for them. But the ending reveals everything. But to me, it was like, why did I have to read this whole book to get there? So basically, you're following this couple. The boy is bringing his girlfriend home for the weekend or for the night to meet his parents, and you just feel uneasy, like something is off. He's behaving weirdly. You get to the house and it's like just something is off. They're acting so weird. The house looks weird. Everything is just weird. The whole book, you're like, what is gonna happen? Like, I feel queasy. It's like, is he gonna kill her? Are his parents gonna kill him? Like, what's happening? And then, they're leaving town and it's like this snowstorm, and they pull over at the school and they feel like someone's watching them, and he like goes into the school and you feel like, holy, like they're gonna die, but where are they? Who is watching them? What's happening? Like, you just have no idea in the entire book why you're scared, but you know that you are. And then in the end, I'm not going to tell you what happens, but like it all makes sense, kind of. And I guess like the book is supposed to be like a commentary on like the human condition and like psychology as a whole, and I get it. Like, cool, that's so smart, you're a good author, you're a good writer, but I just don't like being confused when I'm reading. I don't enjoy that genre confusing, the genre of confusing. So I gave it a 1. Very sadly, this summer I turned pretty. Again, same thing with Crazy Rich Asians. I was so excited to read this series. It's so fun going into a series being like, yay, there's going to be 3 books. And I'm not, again, like Crazy Rich Asians. I don't want to take the whole series out of the realm of possibility. I might return to it. But it was just like, the show was so good. It was so amazing. I like binged it in a day. All the actors and actresses were amazing. Storyline so cute. Everything was perfect. And the book was so disappointing. Belly was so unlikable in the book. And I don't think that there was enough information to make me believe her obsession with Conrad. And I've heard that the second and third books are kind of frustrating and like bad stuff happens. And so if I didn't enjoy the first book, it makes me wonder if I would even remotely enjoy the second and third. I feel like this is one that I should just enjoy the TV show as the new seasons come out and kind of let the book rest. Come on, Jenny, huh? What are you doing? That's it, guys. That was 2022. My best and my worst. Obviously, way more good books than bad books, in my opinion. And these are just that. My opinions. You could have loved those books I just shit on. And then you could have hated the books that I said I loved. So that's the beautiful thing about reading. There are bazillions of books out there. And we can all have things that we enjoy and don't enjoy. And we can all still coexist as readers, lovers of this medium. I would be very curious to know what was your favorite book of 2022 and what was the worst book you read in 2022. So feel free to leave a comment down below with those 2 books. And hopefully if your best book is one that I haven't read, I can add it to my TBR. I'm also planning to do a video of my 2023 TBR, which is basically all the books that are lingering from 2022 that I didn't get to. So feel free to subscribe and come back for that. And if you like the book content, make sure you let me know because it's kind of new on my channel and I'm not totally familiar with how to do this yet. So let me know if I'm doing okay. Thank you. I'll see you guys for the next one. I have to go put all this laundry away.